super thankful it's an honor for Jason to ask me to be a juror and to be in charge of such a task. As you heard, 167 pieces. That's incredible, and I'm thrilled, and like I said, super honored to be in charge of jurying this show. I have so many pages of notes that I just decided to use my laptop. No, it's not true. I am going to hopefully give you a little bit of an introduction. It's like part stand-up comedy. I'm a professor, and right now I'm teaching at RISD in the pre-college program. And so the first week I have 3 classes, and each day I show up to class and there's 20 15-year-olds staring at me. And I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, so they don't intimidate me. I'm totally intimidated right now. You guys are awesome, and like I said, I'm slightly nervous. There's so many lovely people here, and you all made such incredible artwork that it took me over 4 hours going in and out of the rooms. Some work I felt I couldn't see in the right light, so I would take it into a different part of the gallery and make sure that I'm seeing it in the correct light. Some people did functional work that had light bulbs, so how can you see a functional piece that should be plugged in? So I was plugging in work. Some pottery was sort of under a functional category, so I made Jason bring me over to the kitchen sink, and we filled pots with water, and I felt how they were being used and how the water felt pouring out of it, and it was really fun. I had a blast anyway. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of, I know that I'm an artist myself, and I've applied to things, and you're sitting there thinking, man, I wonder if I won, I hope I didn't win. I don't know what all of the thoughts are in your head, but I feel like it's my job to justify my decisions, and explain that it comes from wanting to honor the work itself. Does that make sense? So that's what I did. I was there for 4 hours, and while Todd is a potter and is in charge of the pottery, he's also in charge of the HVAC system. He's also in charge of the historical society compliant door hinges that were being installed. And Jason was doing 5 million things. These guys were awesome. So thank you, by the way, for letting me eat my peanut butter and jelly and hang out for that long. It was my children's lunch they didn't eat at camp the day before. I'm totally serious. And I was totally serious that I was going to be somewhat of a stand-up comedian. I unfortunately got in a car accident a couple weeks ago. A woman hit my car, and so we've been driving around this insanely beautiful car, and it has Sirius. I've never had Sirius satellite, and I discovered that they have the comedy, like stand-up comedy station. So I've been driving up to Providence listening to the comedy station. And so I really was thinking about the bravery of comedians, because they tell jokes and they're holding the microphone, and I can't imagine when that bombs. I couldn't even imagine. So I'll try to stay away from the jokes. I did prepare some things, and I try to be a little bit spontaneous because I think it's a more honest way of working. So a lot of times I'll be driving to class or trying to figure out what I'm going to tell my students, and so I was driving over here thinking about what is art? And so I thought if I told you this story, it would give you sort of like an idea of where my headspace is. So how many of you have been to a place where there are many people gathered and it's sunset-ish, maybe in like 15 minutes? Put yourself wherever you've done that. You've done that, right? We've done the hand, they've asked questions and people raise their hands. Siesta Key, I've been to a few times. Gorgeous place, best sunsets I've ever seen in my life. Outer Banks, I remember standing there with my kids, and I told them to be quiet. I don't know why. I just said, shh, it's coming. And if you listen really closely, when the sun drops below the horizon, it makes a pop sound. I don't know why I told them that. I think it did make a noise. And they still do it to this day. I don't know. So like 8 years later, they still do that. But have you ever been during a sunset and the sun drops and everyone starts clapping? Has anyone ever experienced that? It's so bizarre, but it's beautiful. To me, that's art. And I mean that, for real. I'm getting choked up. That's how much it means to me. So I was thinking, okay, that's beautiful, and that's about aesthetics, that's about, existential, it's all of those things. How many of you have been on a plane? How many of you have been on a plane when there's turbulence? How many of you have been on a plane when they land? Everyone starts clapping. That's art to me. Right? Less beautiful, but super important. You guys are making me nervous. I'm like, so why did I tell you all that? I just wanted you to get to, I think that we can look at things and then we can really see things. And I think that's our job. I feel like that's my job as a juror, is to not just look at things, but really see them. And so I'm a painter. I decided to go back to school because I wanted something more. I was looking for something more in my work, and I switched mediums into sound art. And so you can kind of transfer that sentiment of looking versus seeing when you think about hearing versus listening. So are we hearing what you're saying, or are you listening to what you're saying, right? So that's how I approach during the show. That's how I approach each and every one of the 167 pieces of artwork that I had no idea who made them. It's crazy. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to mention. Oh, yes, never mind. 6:30 already. I was gonna say, if we want questions and answers, I think that's what puts me to the task. So if anyone has questions afterwards, like for a brief moment, we can do questions and answers, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. Okay, let's see. Landing on a plane, sunset pop, noticing things, driving around listening to stand-up. Okay, I covered everything. I literally dictated like some thoughts I had. So in my academic brain, I think of form and content. That's what I teach. I teach various ways we make the work. Those two categories are a good way for me to think about a piece of artwork. What is the form? What's the medium? How is it presented? How is it exhibited? I think about all those formal qualities and all the physical qualities that have made the work. And then I think about the content. And I think that as artists, we go back and forth between placing emphasis on form versus content in varying degrees throughout our career, right? So if you get a new set of paint, something you've never used before, then you sort of start to think about form, and maybe form kind of overtakes content, and you're exploring what the medium can do, and then maybe you're honing your skills. You can wield a certain clay the right way, and you really have a grasp of the form, and then you can start to think about content. And so content starts to overtake form in the hierarchy, but they both contain those two elements, I would say. I would venture to say. So when I look at all the work, I try to put value on not just content and not just form, but how they're working together. And sometimes I would choose a piece that shows really exceptional level of form and perhaps less content, and equally maybe something that has a little bit more content and maybe a little bit less on the form. That's how I kind of go about this. So does anyone any quick questions before you guys want to know who won? Yeah. You do. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. Oh, you already have a piece. All right, excellent. Okay, so this is called String of Pearls, and this I awarded Ann Lewis Parker Award for the best watercolor. I can't remember how many I counted. There were so many beautifully rendered watercolors in the show. I had a really difficult time in this category. Sort of at the end of the day, though, this felt like the use of watercolor is such a transparent medium that you have to use the white of the paper as your white. And as soon as you as soon as you go too far, anyone who watercolors, you know the muddy mess and then the resulting mishmash of of paper pulp that ends up, because you're trying to like maybe rub away a spot and it's just destroyed and you're done. So the beauty of watercolor is that you kind of only got one shot, in a way. I felt like this piece it brought me to the beach. It brought me to the beach with my family, walking along the ocean and meditating, thinking about the rocks. We're each looking at different pebbles. And because of that meditation, that quality of meditation, I feel like that actually came through with the way the person painted the piece. It feels like a moment of meditation making that piece. And you can see from the details that it probably took forever. So I commend you. It's a fantastic piece. I just want to say that the next level, I'm always telling my students, they say, oh, I like that piece. Okay, why do you like it? And then when they answer that, I say, well, why do you like it? Explain that further. Okay, awesome, now explain it one more time. And I try to get them to dig further and further and further. So it's not just a pile of stones. It's called String of Pearls, and so there's white stones that are kind of trickling through in this beautiful little line. If you're familiar with Andy Goldsworthy, he uses his outdoor materials as his medium, and he makes these beautiful sculptures and takes photographs of them. So in addition to stones, now you have the next level, which is, I presume, I don't really know, but I assumed that perhaps the artist herself arranged all of these beautiful rocks before she then made the painting. So she made a sculpture first. It looks like it was made as a sculpture first and into a painting. So that felt next level to me, and congratulations. So are you handing out awards, or?
We'll do that at the reception.
Is Anne here? Who's it? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Ann Lewis is the person in memory of the award. I'm sorry. Colleen Colabella.
She's not.
Okay. Don't tell her. Don't text her. Okay. So the next one. Yep. So this is the Lorenzo and Elizabeth Kinney Award. It's for Best Floral of Any Media. Again, many things that perhaps weren't even floral, that seemed abstract, that almost felt like floral to me. This particular piece is called Meadow, and it was done by Linda Gata. Is Linda here?
I don't think so.
Don't call her. She might be here later. First of all, the presentation is absolutely gorgeous. It's framed wonderfully. It's got museum glass. It's just the presentation for me is really noteworthy. It makes me think of a specific time of day. It makes me think of, because of the dark background, it feels like the fireflies are just about to emerge. Although it's goldenrod, and I actually looked it up. I think it's called boneset. Is that right? Queen Anne's lace. That's what it is. Dang it. I think it might be the same thing. I'm not sure. And it just feels like a time, late summer, cicadas, humidity. I don't know, right about now. And I thought it was just beautifully rendered in skill, but then also the decision to kind of give a hint at a time of day with that dark background just really set it apart for me, and I think it's really a beautiful piece. I have things written that I will have Jason print out. I felt like reading from my notes was cheating, so there are a little more contemplated wording in my notes. Okay, so we'll keep going. So the next one on the list is Dorcas Tony Award, Best Functional Pottery. Pottery's funny like that, right? It's like, could be a teapot, but it's no less of an object of art because it has functionality. I'm gonna wait till he brings it out. So this goes to Chris Greco. Is Chris Greco here?
Yes.
Where's Chris? Wave. Oh, over there. This is a stunning piece of pottery. Because I do teach foundations, I tend to go through some of the foundational sort of things like color and how complementary colors might help a piece. And what it was impossible for me to not find these contrasting ideas. And you can tell me if I'm, totally off the mark later. Chris. If you see this side, you see these beautiful dots. Carefully, I don't know how it's made. It doesn't even matter. There's amazing detail here. And if you flip it over, you have the contrast of lines on this side. Carefully rendered, it's quite beautiful. The whole thing is asymmetrical, and it has complete balance through asymmetry. The green sort of patina of like copper, contrasting with the sort of burnt sienna glaze is a perfect, these two details are perfect. When you hold it in your hand, it has this sort of like soft kind of feel to it, and when you open it up, it's all matte on the outside, and when you open up, it's super glossy on the inside. So it just kept going. It just kept revealing itself to me, right? And so this is when I was like, Jason, can we fill these up with things? I was like, let's pour things. And he said, yeah, actually, they said you could do that. And so on first glance, in my own sort of abstract brain, I felt like the handle was almost slightly large. It's big. It's got a big handle. When you fill this up with water, the handle makes so much sense because it's weighted, it's filled with liquid, and you've got this robust sort of handle. And when you pour the tea, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's really nice, really beautiful piece. And look at the slant. It's got this great slant. I could just go on and on about this piece. I really enjoyed sort of pouring things through it. And asymmetrical balance is really hard to achieve. And so, and do you see what I'm saying? Like asymmetrical balance, not just the way it was formed, not just because there's dots on one side, lines on the other. I mean, it just kept going and going and going. If we meditate long enough, we could probably find something else. Does anyone know Alvin Lucier? He would play piano, but he would have a speaker inside of a teacup. One of his compositions is, he opens and closes the teacup because there's a resonance inside the teacup, and it sounds different as he's taking the lid off of the teacup. It also made me think of that. Okay. This next sculpture will remain inside. Please don't leave without seeing all of this work, because we have several sculptures that were too large to take outside. So I really hope that you take a little bit of time to inspect this amazing sculpture. So this is the Visconti Sculpture Award for Best Sculpture. And I felt there were so many amazing sculptures in that room. All of the sculptors deserve honorable mentions at least, but then we wouldn't have an award show. This particular one, I felt there was the artist subverts the material. It feels like some sort of alien metal that has been mined from some planet. I don't know. What's that UFO with the Hawaiian name? Does anyone know? It felt like it was a piece. It feels like it's mined from a piece of that UFO that they found. So it's super futuristic. It's and it's made from metallic and plastic parts mined from electronics that have been discarded. That should give it away, probably. Christoph is shaking his head. Congratulations, Christoph Matthews, for your amazing sculpture.
Thank you very much. I'm honored.
Titled Airstrike. This piece is this bird-like cyborg creature that is in a nosedive. Have you ever been on the ocean and see the terns when the terns, almost out of the corner of your eye, you see the tern drop and try to get a fish? That's what it reminds me of. It's just the movement in that piece is unbelievable. In addition to the visual sort of directionality of the piece, the base was constructed with rebar in sort of a curved shape, and so when you walk through that old building, the floors undulate just ever so slightly, and when you do that, there's movement in the bird, and so you have a kinetic, whether intended or not, you still have this. He's shaking his head. Yes. There's a spring. There's a designed spring, ever so slightly. It's not a mobile, but that hint of kinetic energy that transpires when you walk past the piece really kind of sold me. I thought about Tom Deininger. Who knows Tom Deininger?
Oh, yeah.
So Tom Deininger also puts together all these plastic pieces, and yet all of the plastic pieces remain intact. And you can view the piece from the side, you can view the piece, and you see all of the different pieces of plastic that he's taken from the beach. And then you look at it straight on, and it's an optical illusion, and the forced perspective, you see the object that's being made. And all of the plastic remains in its current use. What is fascinating about what Christoph does is there are how many layers? 15 layers? 20? Dozens.
Seriously.
There are dozens and dozens of layers on this like enamel model paint. I have no idea.
Oh yeah, I mean a combination of both enamel paint and acrylic paint, acrylic ink, just literally layered over, scraped down, reprimed.
You can tell that this piece has been worked on for a really, really long time. And I think that when I talked about form and content, you achieve both. You see the mastery of the materials. You see you wield discarded electronic plastic like a master Jedi. So Christoph, congratulations! It's a really wonderful piece.
Thank you. I'm greatly honored. Thank you.
Do we need a joke? Okay, no jokes. Okay. The next award is Mary Ann. Finally starting to loosen up a little bit. Maybe my jokes will land. This is the Mary Ann Carney Award for pottery. I don't know any of the names in the awards. I would love to honor those folks who are on the awards. So sometime we should. I wish I had a little bit more information about the people that we're honoring, but we should honor those people. So the Mary Ann Carney Award for pottery goes to Val Cunningham.
Oh yeah.
Val. This is an exquisite piece. I was thinking of artists who write their own eulogies. I was thinking of in Vermont where they mine granite, the stone carvers would spend a week or two on someone else's headstone, but then they would spend years and years and years on their own headstone, and so they're buried with their own headstone. And I'm not saying you made yourself a funeral urn. It's not necessarily what I mean, but it did sort of make me think that because the piece is called Waiting, and there are 4 white kind of ghost-like figures that are sort of locked inside of this vessel. Sort of a house, but there's no door, there are only windows. And so the use of clay, first of all, is, again, you think about form, you have a mastery of clay. It's clear for that. And then your glazing is exquisite. It's really, really gorgeous. But here's my favorite part. And really, this takes, remember I said the difference between looking, like you're looking at it. When you get a chance, go inside and really see this piece, because it's gorgeous. But look at this. And I want you to hear it too, because it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds fabulous. It makes me think that it sounds so great that because it's such a stunning use of clay. So have you ever heard it? Have you listened to how it sounds? It sounds so good. Can you guys hear? Is that amplified? I mean, when you hear that and it locks shut, it's like a nice BMW when it shuts. I have a Grand Caravan that's in the shop and doesn't have satellite radio. So I hope it doesn't offend you when I mentioned that this could be. I want this to be my funeral urn. That's kind of what I was getting at. I would be honored to exist for eternity inside this box. I know it sounds dark, but we don't talk about this enough. Because, I don't know, they're just waiting, and it's really wonderful. I can't wait to talk to you after. I really want to know about why it's called Waiting. I hope you're laughing because I I'm not offended. This piece is lovely. I just want you to see the symmetry. So look at how beautiful, I mean, even the rectangles on the bottom are considered. When you consider every single move that you make on a piece, I feel like that's when you've got it. And it really happens with this piece. Really great piece. You guys sick of me yet? I think we're only halfway there. And I'm being recorded. Hi to my future self. Next up we have an award. It is a new award, Support Women Artists Award. The person behind this new venture is not with us. Had some personal things going, but I would have liked to have thanked Teresa Gerard for presenting this award. This painting is for Best Abstract Painting, and it goes to Michelle Henning. Is she here?
No, she's not here.
Not here, okay. I felt, as I looked through all of the abstract work, I felt like, sure, this could be ripples on a river, sure, it could be ripples in some, I'm not really sure, but the colors don't tell me that. It tells me of something that feels a lot more abstract. I thought the paint handling was really well done, and the colors from across the room, they just pop. And so again, it has that quality of mastery of the materials, oil paint, sense of light and dark, this undulating sort of movement that extends way past the frame, and it's just a snapshot of a quick moment. And I just kept looking back at that painting from across the room, and it really shows. So all of you in the back, you can see that painting, and it draws you in. And does it not call to you and say, "Come see me a little bit closer"? And I think when a painting does that, it's a win. So congratulations to Michelle Henning, and the title of the piece is called Unclear. And I thought sometimes titles can sort of help continue the story beyond just the physical visual piece. Is that Michelle? Okay, so I wanted to read you one quick thing. So this is for Best Photograph. And I don't say this because I want to seem red or something like that, but how many of you have read Camera Lucida by Roland Barthes? We've got one in the back. Yes. It's a fascinating, it's his last book, and he philosophizes on what photography is. He talks about the punctum, which is that moment when the sun drops or the plane lands and you didn't die. It's that punctum. It's that thing that kind of sticks you. It's that thing that makes the hair on the back of your head sort of rise. And I wanted to read one quote from Roland Barthes. What the photograph reproduces to infinity has occurred only once. The photograph mechanically repeats what could never be repeated existentially. And so I thought about that quote when I saw all these lovely photographs. I think there were 14 lovely photographs. Beautiful sailing, black and white. There was a piece called Orange Ladder. Who's Orange Ladder? Was that anybody's? Cindy Wilson's. A beautiful moment of not quite being inside, not quite being outside, but sort of being in this in-between. Really lovely piece. And I thought about the sort of experimental films of the 60s, Stan Brakhage, who decided to take the film itself and work with the film as a medium itself. So he would do paintings on 16 millimeter film. He taped moths to the 16 millimeter film and then projected it's called moth light. And so he thought that the flickering of the sound of the projector and the flickering lights in a movie theater, the white lights just sort of flickering. I thought about Stan Brakhage when I saw this photograph. I kept coming back to it. It was a little bit to the right of some of the other photographs, and I kept looking at the larger group of photographs and then kind of walking around and seeing this photograph. And what I loved about it is that it's not just a photograph, but the artist has used the lens as a medium from my eyes. I'm not a photographer, but it feels extremely considered. So congratulations to John Raposa. John Raposa, are you here?
He is here.
John is over there by the yellow lantern. Some may have seen us sitting together back there. This is not a conspiracy, I promise you. John, really, congratulations on what I felt was a real standout in the medium of photography, and not because there's a digitally manipulated photograph in the other room that's gorgeous, a house with these birds, digitally manipulated. I still feel like that's part of the category of photography. Like I said, the orange ladder, there were many to choose from. I felt this one was inspiring in that it feels frenetic. It feels like now. It feels a little unsure, you know? It feels like possibly that moment on the plane when everything is okay, but for a second there you weren't sure if it was going to be okay. So congratulations, John. I have until 9, right? What? I don't? Okay, so the next award is probably one of the hardest because it goes to best oil or acrylic. I mean, that's not an easy task. The room is filled with gorgeous acrylic and oil paintings. This goes to Jody Menka. Is Jody here?
He's not here.
I think most of these artists will become a little
Okay, again, stop texting your friends. She'll find out later. If you look through, again, this is like an opportunity for me to justify my own critical thinking skills. This, from all the way back there, looks probably like it's rendered in absolute perfection. Because when you put yourself 16 feet away from a painting, it's like squinting your eyes, and when you're looking at a painting, those of you that paint, you probably do that all the time, kind of squint to see if it still sucks. And so from all the way back there, it looks like the marsh that it is. And it's a marsh that it does say, the name is Point Judith Marsh. There's a little pull-out area just past the Captain Jack's that all the egrets kind of rest and hang out in. I love that spot. And I instantly thought that might be the spot. I'm not sure if it is. We can ask her later. Somebody text her now. The use of paint here is absolutely gorgeous. If you go up next to it and really see it, there's just enough. Just enough. In every moment in this painting, there's just enough so I know exactly what it is. So little cottages along the seaside is just one tiny little brush mark. Boom. Really, really quick, really, really easy. And it's just every mark on that painting feels intentional and considered. And that, to me, really set it above the rest. So congratulations to Jody. We'll see her later. The bell is ringing. I think we have 4 left. So this next one goes to the best, it's called, the category is Best Drawing, Print, or Pastel. I chose this piece because there were quite a few drawings, and I felt like this one really went above and beyond what the medium of drawing is to me. It does say that there's watercolor as well, but this felt like primarily a drawing to me. It does say Prismacolor, so it's done with colored pencils. So Nancy Ozano, is Nancy here? I won't make the same joke again, I'm sorry. This one is called Eclipse, and it's simultaneously a figurative piece, a landscape, a meditative, cross-hatching, just absolute meditation, a seascape, and then the drippy sort of idea of gravity with the water. It really needs to be seen up close. Every single value that you can see from all the way back there is thousands of tiny little lines. And when you go up close, it really pops. It really, really pops. I can't imagine how many hours. You know, some people ask you how long did your painting take. This one took forever. It's really an amazing piece. Let me see if I have the pictures on my laptop. Yeah, I just kept coming back to this piece because I kept seeing something else, and I looked at it 3 times and I didn't notice that there was a figure. Again, those of you that are all the way back there, you can probably tell there's a figure. But I just kept coming back and just was kind of blown away by the use of pencil and then cross hatching. Really demands to be seen up close. So I'm gonna keep going. I'll keep going. So congratulations to Nancy. So the next one is for best mixed media, collage, or assemblage. There were quite a few in this category. I had listed like four pieces that I kept considering assemblage, and then I just kept coming back to this one piece. There's simplicity, there's meditation, once again, in the use of materials, and that is Lynn Moulton. Now Lynn knows why she didn't sign all of the awards this time around. Congratulations, Lynn. Lynn, I kept coming back to this piece and seeing more and more. I kept thinking about the fact that some of this is repurposed. One of them is a pizza box. And so how do you take a pizza box and make something that is impeccably made with the tools, X-Acto blade or however you made it, and then present it to us in such an artful, mindful way? And so I kept coming back to the pizza. And I know that sounds silly, but it's like it represents something in the materials and making something out of, say, pebbles on the beach or whatever you can find, drawing on a napkin, spliced up pizza box, presented with precision. And I think it goes beyond just geometric perfection. I think it gets, because you've given us these 3 shapes in varying values. You've given us something that, you know, you can draw with grid. You can get, I forgot what it's called. You get curves with straight lines. That's what I feel like happens here. You've given us such a organic shape through highly considered geometric shapes. So congratulations. It's really a remarkable piece. And I heard quite different from what you normally make.
Yeah, this is a pandemic piece where I started working with cardboard and paper just because it was around and I needed to create. And so I had a wine box, a sneaker box, and a pizza box, and I said, let's do something with these cool patterns.
So you heard right from Lynn that sense of urgency of not running out to the store to get your favorite watercolors or your favorite oil paints, but the need, that it spoke of that, the need to make something right then, right there with whatever you got laying around. So it's awesome. It's a really great piece. So we'll go to the next one. I'm thirsty. We have 3 honorable mentions. How do you give away the 3 golden tickets to over 150 pieces left? It was really difficult. This one is titled To Be in Awe, and it is made by Elizabeth Spring. Congratulations, Elizabeth Spring. I was certainly in awe of this meticulously drawn, do you call them paintings? Pastelists call their piece paintings, don't they? Here it comes. It's just an absolute, gorgeous piece. The Sublime. Simple as that. The Sublime, and sublimely made. And I think when you put the last touch of pastel on there, it made a little sound. Like, I did not plan for that. That was not scripted. You can see that this artist, Elizabeth, is a master of the craft of pulling colors out of nowhere. I'm always enamored by pastelists who use the 400 colors that are at your disposal, but I feel like you see vastly different than the rest of us, because you look up in the sky and we see a blue sky and some green trees, and that's about it. And you see 400 colors wherever you're looking, and I think that comes through here on this piece. It's really lovely, and beautifully executed in terms of exhibition as well. So, congratulations. Okay, we have 2 left, and okay, so we're not going to make Jason take this large piece out. Honorable mention goes to a piece called "Holding It All Together," parenthesis for Kate. The piece is by Michael Yefko. He's not here, I don't think.
No.
But when you see the piece inside, I want you just to remember the original thought, which was form and content. And so, masterful sculpture, repurposed set of drawers, the fabric that's kind of woven all the way through the house, the considered zip ties that feel impermanent. The whole thing is put together by these zip ties, but when you look at how it's made, you realize that it's 100% intentional. The sort of dowel, I don't know how he carved this needle out, but it's basically this needle piercing this house, and it's not a super happy piece. And I inquired a little bit further after I chose the piece, and I found out some words behind it. It's about a woman named Kate who committed suicide, and so, you know, it has a lot to think. It gives you a lot to think about. It's really a wonderfully executed piece. So please have a look and just contemplate it. I think it gives you a lot. This is where form and content, you'll understand what I mean by that, where you look at it and you go, well, this guy clearly knows how to make things. But then you think, what is this about? And you keep coming back to it, and more ideas kind of come up, and you make up your own stories. And that's sort of where I went with that piece. It was really, really an amazing piece. Where's Jason? So the final piece, and you'll be rid of me, I promise. And I thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. The last piece for honorable mention was made by Lisa May. I don't know if Lisa May is here.
She's not here.
She's not here. Really urge you to. The piece is presented as a table. It is made with paper pulp, sculpted paper pulp. I can't imagine this took any time less than at least a year to make, and I'm totally serious. The attention to detail is off the charts, with a material that has the possibility of being thought of as a material that doesn't have value. And this piece, it doesn't matter what it's made out of, it shows the courage and the time and the consideration of that piece. It's absolutely wonderful. It has it's made out of paper. It's stunning. It has this little opening with drawers in the middle, which is, if you reach in, you have to get down on your knees to see the piece. I'm serious. It's kind of low to the ground. And I was urging them to, it should be up here so we can just see it eye level, because there's so many details. So I really urge you to spend some time looking at it and then seeing the piece, right? That's it for the awards. Do I have to do anything else?
You can do a Q&A if you want.
Q&A. Oh, I think they're sick of me. If you're sick of me, you can raise your hand. I won't feel too bad. I am open to questions. It keeps me on my feet, and it keeps me speaking from the heart and genuinely. So if anyone has any questions whatsoever, I'm happy to answer. And if you have none, that's totally fine too. Question?
No.
Christoph.
My question for you is, teaching pre-college right now, how do you see any difference in terms of the students that are coming up now versus the folks more, say, of our generation? What are the differences in terms of how they're approaching art or any of these things that you're noticing?
I think there's a trend right now to lean towards content. And I try my best to always retain the materials. And I try really hard to notice when some young folks are really interested in the content and to foster that, and to not let the kids who just want to make stuff kind of get lost in sort of a duct taped banana to the wall, if you know the reference.
Yep.
So I think that there is an overemphasis on sort of like protest art or different things. Here's the thing. Here's what I believe. I think these kids, 15 years old, I think they know way more than us, for sure. And I think they're not the ones that need the change. It's kind of us that need the change. And so I think that these students these things don't matter to them anymore. Like they got it. So I think that for me, it's really important to make sure that they're thinking about materials and not letting go of craft, because I think craft is super important. And when you let go of craft, then when all you have is what the thing is about, then you start to get into this kind of ethereal thing. And I think we all still need to make things. It's super important to make things. So, good question. Thank you. Any other questions? It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for laughing at my lame jokes.